Welcome back. We're moving to 2.2 day 2, which is still slope rate and change, but now we're going to be calculating the slope of a line based on the line's XY chart. Okay, we got a few things we got to get set before we move on here. The first of which is a line represents an infinite number of points. Alright, now if you remember a little bit ago, we graphed these things using XY charts, and the XY chart listed just a few of those points, but when we drew the line, it represented an infinite number of points. Again, the XY chart gave me a few dots, and then we drew that line. There's the infinite number of points, but we just used those three to help draw us an accurate line. Okay, now when we did slope recently, we can calculate that slope using any 2 points on the line. Okay, so once we had that line, we could simply count up and over or use the coordinates of 2 points and figure out our slope. We're just going to extend that idea just a little bit here today. Alright, so when we calculated slope, like we did previously, okay, we were given a problem such as this: determine the slope of a line passing through 2, -7, and 8, 3. Alright, well then again, we would use our slope formula and say m equals, draw our fraction bar, and then we do y2 minus y1. Again, if you put the minus signs in first, that's up to you. But y2 minus y1 in this case, it'd be 3 minus the -7. And then the x2 minus x1, it'd be 8 minus 2 in this case. And then we just simply work that out. 3 minus -7 gave me a positive 10. On the bottom, 8 minus 2, 6. And then I looked at that and thought, hey, I can reduce that guy by 2. So I did, and eventually got myself down to a 5/3. And we were all good. Okay, now my question to you, as it says right there, would anything change if the points were listed like this? And what I mean by like this is if instead of listing them just like 2, -7, and 8, 3 within the context of a problem I was giving you, what if they were just part of an XY chart? Had a 2, -7 right there, and then maybe we had an 8 and a 3 right there. Okay, my question to you is, would it change anything at all that you would do for the slope formula? Hopefully the answer is no. Alright, so let's go ahead and calculate the slope from an XY chart. Okay, so as it says, we're going to determine the slope of each line whose XY chart is given. So here's our XY chart. Now notice here we're given 3 points. Okay, now the thing I need you to keep in mind is slope needs 2 points to work. Okay, and so basically we just have extra points here. I've got myself 3 points, and I only really need 2. So my advice is just pick whichever 2 you like. Okay, now maybe you don't like a negative sign, so you're going to skip this first guy. So we're going to pick 6, 7, and then 4, 3, and use those as our 2 points. Now it's up to you whether you want to list those separately because that's what you used to do with the formula or not. But basically right now I'm just going to do 4, 3, and then 6, 7. Okay, again, this is going to be my x1 and my y1 right here, and this is going to be my x2 and my y2. Okay, now don't get bent out of shape which one's which, alright, because it really doesn't matter. The formula, if you use it correctly, will give you the right answer, no matter which way you go with those. Alright, so basically once I've got that, same basic thing as we've been doing the whole time. M equals, minus signs, y2 minus y1, so in this case 7 minus 3, and then 6 minus 4, as I'm subtracting my x's. And then just work it out. 7 minus 3 is 4, 6 minus 4 is 2. And remember that reduces to 2/1, but a much better way of saying that answer is simply to say 2 all by itself. Alright, this next example has a minor twist compared to the last one in that there's so many negative numbers that I can't pick 2 points and avoid negative numbers. Alright, sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. So in this case, I'd pick the 0, 5 because clearly there's no negative numbers there, but then I'd be stuck picking either 3, -1 or 6, -7, and really it's a personal preference. Just pick whichever one you think looks nicer. I like 3, -1 because honestly the numbers are a little bit smaller than the 6, -7, but again, no big deal either way. So again, if it helps you, list them out separately. 0, 5 right there, and then 3, -1. You obviously don't need to do that, but here we go. And then just work out your slope. M equals, minus minus, I got -1 minus 5, and then I've got 3 minus 0 on the bottom. Okay, so in this case I get a -6 on top, I get a 3 on the bottom. Notice again that reduces, and that reduces to -2/1 again, or again, better yet, simply saying -2 is preferable in a situation like that. Alright, another situation here. Now this one I've given you a larger XY chart, so there's 4 numbers, but again, same thing applies. No matter how many points I give you, you only need 2. Again, the bad news is all these negative numbers, so we've got no choice but to pick some. Alright, and okay, again, depends on what you would rather do. I'm thinking that 0, -7, and 2, -6 at least is the minimum number of negatives that I can go with, so that's what I'll pick. Again, if it helps you, list them separately like this. If it doesn't help you, don't do it. I'm more interested in being able to see you plug these things in the formula properly and get yourself the correct answer. Alright, so just be careful of the negatives now. So I've got my y2 is negative 6 minus my y1, which is negative 7, and then my x2 is 2, and my x1 is 0. So again, just work on the numbers, but be careful with them. Negative 6 minus negative 7 is going to give me a positive 1. 2 minus 0 gives me a 2. And that is an unreducible fraction, so that would be my final answer. Okay, please don't assume from the example that I've done that there will always be a 2 as part of the answer. And there you go, just a couple to try these. Nice short lesson, hopefully you appreciate that. But anyway, there it is. I'll see you in class.